Yeah, I got a couple.
It's got to be more gas, a little bit more gas than what I guess. I mean, I would have take your clear from the people.
Earlier. I guess we're just going to go around the corner and then signs. This is kind of technical.
How'd you hide it?
There's a little thingy at the top, right there.
So where'd you find that place that does those batteries?
Yeah, so we laptops, PC laptops. We just called them up and said, hey, we're working on this nonprofit thing, and we want to buy your laptop batteries. Okay. And he's like, well, we sell them to this vendor who comes and destroys them for 60 cents a pound. And we said, okay, we'll give you 70 cents a pound. He's like, all right, cool. So call us up every week or so. So we probably have 150 full batteries. And we sit down and watch movies. Drink most of our gators and batteries. Then we built a charging panel, charges, discharges, boxes based on No, we actually take them to Home Depot and they have that battery disposal box. And they look at us like, okay. Those girls check stands like, oh, when you do that, it's like disposing of batteries. I'm sure they sell it to someone.
What were the two sites that you had on?
Oh, my sensors.
You know what I mean? And they're like, really? They go, yeah, depending on who you get, and if they come right to you, and if they work with you, they'll do it. But if it's like somebody like, it's hard to have people like, that obviously is going to be a red flag.
So what do you use for battery?
A little bit of weakness.
So, other than the smoker, my neighbor's building a cabin, and he wants like 4 kilowatt batteries to store his solar.
I was going to ask you if you could charge it on solar.
Yeah. So there's battery management systems and all that kind of stuff. It's got a little box. No stuff. Yes, 23 computer chips in it. They have Wi-Fi built in. And it has Wi-Fi. Yeah. Yes.
Let's find out, like I said, 19, at least with Tom,
It's a check the temperature of your cell.
that's what it sounded like. I didn't hear that much. And I'm like,
The power it wakes up wherever it's sitting.
he did. Oh, that's
Wakes
good.
up. It's low voltage. That was electronic voltage regulator. So we put 5 volts out of it.
It's awesome.
Yeah, no kids at home. I know the
Hey, your big photo.
You were all the time.
But yeah, I was surprised. I was surprised we didn't have it. I never even once.
I can find it right here.
Yeah, you can't just take over somebody's Oh, they didn't look at
Okay.
Yeah.
Node MCU.
Okay.
It's got a lot of GPIO, that analog uses out.
Right up to an Arduino or to a Pi. Are you running in standalone?
They're $3.
Yeah, it's nice.
They run Blue so you can just upload a program file.
Okay.
Text file. You can have the text file actually. The first thing it does is it looks for a website, download an e-file,
Okay.
file.
Yeah.
And if it does that, it breaks out and starts itself over. So you can just type some save and then make a second code and run.
Wow, that's slick.
Yeah.
It's a small full Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Last thing.
Yep, there's Wi-Fi for like analog. You can run it off like an 18650 battery for a month.
Yeah. And probably the biggest power draw is the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
That's
Perfect. All right. Thank you. Yeah. That'll
Another time.
Yeah, I meant to get some other.
I mean, you can program all of these to send those tweets or text messages for plant water.
Nice.
Put it in a little plastic bag. And they sell these. I
already have like 25 devices on my Wi-Fi at home, and I'm killing my Wi-Fi. I actually have got 4 students. I've got some students working right now with the science workflow project, and we're trying to do a little robot with sensors on it. So I'm going to go get good sites and point them out.
Yeah. So they have these little probes that have a resistance value, right? 9, 10 times, right? And it just tells you a value processor, so you figure out what is dry for your plant.
Yeah.
And then you set that as a threshold and you stick these in.
Okay.
Yeah. It just gives you an analog value. You put into an analog input and say, okay, when the voltage gets 103.2,
Okay.
that equals this wetness. And
Do they have Wi-Fi on them already,
No,
or
so
would you use something
plug
like
that
that?
in
Other
one
card?
of these.
Okay.
along with temperature converter sensor.
Okay.
Stick in a little plastic can,
Drop it in and go.
stick it on the plant.
Do they have an AC current sensor? I've been wanting for years to put them in my breaker panels to see what branch is.
Yeah, go to mysensors.org.
Yeah, I'll do that. Thank you. Sorry, Mark.
Oh, no, you're fine. Continue your. So you're gonna try your little one? I think
That's a sign. I was not So did we decide to do?
It's when it gets around under 20, it starts, that's when you start, especially when it's so cold. Stuff's out. Hey, it's the same way.
Well.
It was funny because I got to talk to you.
All right, we have the fun task of talking about next WestNet, which will be our first meeting as a fully formed 501c3. Kelly just emailed us that he submitted the final papers right before he jumped on the plane to Hawaii. And that we can formally start operating as a corporation. So there we go. I do have the list of organizations, and I do have a quick question. So Eileen, my admin, just pulled up everybody who's attended for the last 4 minutes meetings, and Internet 2's in there. I assume you don't want Internet 2 to be one of our voting board members. Anybody disagree with that? Okay. And CNIC has also attended on and off, and I wouldn't think we want CNIC to be one of our voting WestNet members.
I think it's appropriate to keep them on the invite list.
But this is the list of voting.
Yeah. So
Okay, we could make it.
I've actually wondered what's going on since we haven't seen them in the last while.
Well, we keep scheduling these things. Dave Reese has taken on a new role at CNIC. He's really the international guy, so he's traveling internationally. He's still doing the WRN stuff, but he's doing less of sort of I2-ish stuff, and we just keep hitting dates where he can't. We're overlapping. I think we overlapped the ICE meeting in January. We keep hitting things he's busy with, so we can certainly reach out and see if John Hess, I think, came to Durango because they presented. I think sometimes it's easier if they're presenting because then they can make an easier justification for attending. But so we could do a better job. All right, so.
Can I get a real quick count on who wants to go for dinner?
as long as it's not, it's walkable, right, Dave? I missed the.
If you take tracks.
Traxable.
All the way up.
Or we can share Ubers.
Or you can.
Lyfts.
That's perfectly.
Hands up.
Same way there, it's not.
It's walkable, you've got like a couple hours.
What's it called?
11 or 12.
Yeah, it's definitely worth going.
Yeah.
So you're gonna go to the classic location?
Yeah, because we can, if you do it 12 at Red Iguana.
But I'm
I can't
proposing,
do 12 at Red Iguana. I can do it 12 at Red Iguana 6, or at 6. Or at 7 for the Red Iguana one takes 6 people.
Okay, so we're gonna go to Red Iguana 2, which is the same food, bigger site.
Across the street.
I've been there, it's.
and they can take 13 people at 6 p.m.
They take it, I'll get it as early as possible.
Well, so my proposal is, for me, it's like a half hour back to the hotel and a half hour, so I propose we just go straight from here to dinner. Cause I'd rather eat dinner than get back. So,
I'll second that.
does that work for everybody? So if we do it 6, and we leave here right around 5, and again, whether we coordinate tracks or somebody can guide us, I know you're, guide us to tracks. Does that work for everybody to do 6 o'clock? Or we can do 6:15 if that's better, gives us more time.
I don't know so by not making reservations, you can't do 12. You can't do a group of 12 at 6 o'clock. You can do a group of 12, this size, at Red 1 and 2, but they don't have it till 7. We can do a group at 6, maybe you can call and get reservations at 6. And I'll call and make
Can you
reservations.
do 2 groups of 6?
Yeah, Red 101.
Well, that's what we did last year, we just split into 2 tables, which is fine.
Could we do 5:45? Does that make it easier for anybody? I mean, we're done at 5, right?
Yeah.
We will be if we can finish it.
Okay, ask him.
Well, it may take you that long to get there on tracks.
It takes about 38 minutes on tracks.
And you
You
may,
have-
wa-
you have to
and
switch
you may have
tracks.
to wait 15 minutes to catch a train.
Which is why in some ways I thought it would be easier if we just did it.
How many of us drove or going to dinner? Are you going to dinner?
Not tonight, I can't.
But you're on. One of you.
We're coming back hotel. I don't know.
We might have enough cars to take everybody.
I'm not going to dinner, but I can drop somebody off.
Nice guy.
Or you want to bring it back?
Got nothing else to do here?
You'll just abandon
And
it.
I'm supposed to stop at the park.
Yeah, you're on your own.
Supposed to be at the park at 6. He's an Uber.
Okay. We'll leave it in your hands, just like a reservation will be there.
So you gotta count.
Or 2 reservations.
So see if you can do 6 and 6.
That's
6
12.
people,
2 6 6 6.
2 groups of 6 and 16. All right. WestNet, so shall we have another WestNet?
Yes.
People
I
stop.
thought I was going out.
Yes?
It'd be a weird time to quit. It'd be a shame to quit right after we.
It'd be the shortest corporation in history. Shortest presidency in history. Well, we get to keep writing grants, and just not me. All right, so does anyone not want to have another WestNet? Except possibly me. But, so this will be, normally this would be our January meeting. Ryan is aware that I've been communicating with Derek. Derek has agreed to, I don't know if he asked Ryan this, but he agreed to host at University of Arizona, which is in Tucson. I know there's been some confusion here about ASU and U of A. And for Derek, he said it would work better for him to do the second week of January, which would be January 8th, the week of January 8th. Normally what we would do is the CIO meeting on Monday, the 8th, and then WestNet would be Tuesday the 9th, Wednesday the 10th, and Thursday half a day. Route.
No, we don't.
No, you don't have to.
It's trying enough as it is.
All right, so I have another question about so this VTC, not that I'm besmirching Mark Reynolds, but it's a lot of work. I mean, I think last time we decided where we gonna do it, when we gonna do it. I appreciate Dave and Alex doing all this work. I can't remember, last time Arizona State ran it for us. I think when we had it at U of A last time, we did not do.
We did not, I believe we did
Although I think you may have done it one time, Alex, at U of A. So the question is, should we just not do BTC, or is U of A in a better position to do BTC now? Do you want to think about it?
Yeah, let me think about it. I don't know.
It takes a lot of staff time, and when Fort Lewis did it, they had, Matt, you had dedicated staff there,
Yeah, we had a person dedicated for it.
really, and I think ASU had a dedicated person kind of sitting there, so it's a commitment. And I don't know that many people are watching. I don't know you guys know how many people are. And whether it's worth the effort to. So, all right, the only topics I wrote down were that Ryan agreed to talk about your data center and the cloud status. Are you willing to do that, Ryan?
Yes.
And then Elliot had agreed that he's not here to defend himself, that he would give us a little bit more detailed description of the internship program. Are people interested in that? A little more depth?
Yes.
And maybe it could be a presentation, maybe some other people chime in if they have programs.
BYU always has a great student program that they can update us on. I always look here now, because they pioneered that.
All right. So other topics, we'll put we have the normal, what are you doing about lightning talks, regional updates. We'll put all the recurring stuff on there, 5-minute madness. But other topics that we were a little scrunched this time because we only have 2 days. This will be a 2.5 day.
Well, is everybody interested in an update on where we are with our ACI and SDN for the data center and that project, so we can commit to bring an update back on that?
All right, who's doing that one?
You can assign it to me and I'll work in our organization
What are you calling that?
ACI/SDN for the data center.
ACI.
Cisco ACI. Put that in front of it so we all remember.
And then there's also potentially, like Jim was just whispering, we could bring back an update on where we are with our whole hybrid data center environment, where we're working to have the hybrid cloud so that we can.
So it's basically a next-gen data center utilizing automation, integrating in with the hybrid cloud so we could easily move workloads back and forth.
And Kim, if you want to own that, you got it.
Maybe we can combine together.
Nice. We will find that generally when somebody brings these things up, we get volunteers. So
Yeah, we get them.
willing to do that. Kim,
Yes, we can work together.
Kim and I, just list Kim and I, we'll take, and if we do both of them together, ACI and the hybrid cloud, it would probably be in a full hour 15 minutes. Since a longer presentation on 2:45.
So for both of those, or you want 45 and 45? How about we do
2:45?
45? How about we do 45 and 45? How much time do you need, Ryan, for your?
30 to 45 minutes probably.
All right, we'll put you for 30 if you need more, let me know.
Yeah.
Other topics?
How long, Ryan? I'm trying to keep those
30 minutes.
Do you, anything you want to talk about? Anything you want to hear about?
I want to hear.
There was a lot of talk about, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I said there was quite a lot of talk about terminating or getting rid of your PBXs. I'd be interested. I mean, we kind of talked about getting rid of our old switch too, but what does that mean? What are the implications? That'd be kind of interesting.
So CU, you're doing that, right?
Yep.
CSU, you're
I
doing
can't.
that?
I'm having trouble here. So what did you?
Getting rid of your PBX.
PBX, eliminate
And
PBX.
we're discussing whether CU, are you getting rid of your PBX? Somebody else
Like
is
the old big iron PBX?
Mhm.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think we'll be damn near done by January.
So CU and CSU, would you be willing to?
Sure.
If it's a panel, I could be on a panel. I've got a couple slides. We won't be done by January, but we're on the path.
Damn, yeah.
So you think 45 minutes for 3 of you?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Other topics? You two are vying for.
So it's DU,
Oh, go ahead.
CSU.
I was actually gonna beg you or somebody who's doing the Office 365 thing to do their update as to where that, their Office
Can you do that
365.
too?
So Office 365 thing, what does it mean?
Moving to email on the cloud, moving all their entire organization to cloud email. Especially if they have like a healthcare organization, how that's being impacted, because that's our area is the challenge, is that meeting their expectations.
30, 45?
30.
Who's in that?
Ryan's gonna do that. Anybody else doing that? Wants to talk about it?
And the fact that you've done it once and came back, I really look forward to the lessons learned.
I think we could talk about new storage technologies, like for example, Pure Storage, they have a different mindset when we talk about licensing and their technology.
The other thing that would be interesting is HCP,
Hitachi,
storage, and all the technology associated with that.
You leading that, Dave?
We could?
So Todd is volunteering a couple things here. One is we're going to be putting extreme networks in our stadium, and he's thought that might be of interest to somebody. And for the pervasive Wi-Fi in the stadium. And the other is our campus network redesign. Probably be ready to talk about that.
Is Todd doing this?
Who's Todd?
Todd Barrett.
Todd Barrett.
So Todd's doing this?
Yes. Please put his name down.
So Todd, for both.
Things have a tendency to roll downhill, but put his name on it.
Todd for both.
Todd for both, yeah.
And sorry, one is pervasive Wi-Fi in the stadium?
Yep, Extreme, we're going with Extreme in the stadium, and that was campus network redesign.
So ask Todd, does he need 30 minutes for each of this?
He says he's trying to talk, but the audio is not going through.
He's trying to protest.
Yeah.
We turned it down because it was, we turned it down because it was chiming or something.
Okay.
Now, Todd.
Todd, are you there?
He's probably muted on his end now.
There we go.
Hello?
Can you hear me now? Okay, well, they're figuring out Todd. Other topics?
It says apparently you can't hear me. 30 is great for each.
Okay. James, anything on your back?
I feel like a translator.
I like the storage thing Dave came up with, but I don't know that we have anything new to do that.
Matt, anything you guys want to hear about?
Well, the Office 365 stuff, there's going to be a list to talk about.
We could do a SC survivors
Guide.
talk. Jim and Scott and Chad and whoever's working. Are you working on SC? SC? Aren't you?
Yeah, we could do that. Take pictures and do a PowerPoint like Jim's done.
Yep, 30 minutes for that.
I can do that.
We could probably do, if everything goes well, we'll have our new backup system in place, which is a pretty non-traditional way of doing that. Be happy to report on how that went. Things if that's interesting.
What title do you want? Sorry.
This is using the client-side dedo backup system, so we're gonna fit.
So if I just say client-side backup system, will you know what that means?
Sure, we can retitle it later.
And you're the one not talking about that?
Sure, yeah.
Is that the data domain stuff?
Yeah, it's data domain on the back and Avamar on the front with the Dell protection suite in between.
Yep.
So we're gonna supposedly fit 600 terabytes into.
So 30 minutes on that?
Yeah. Todd's wondering if there's any interest in our move to Activio for backup.
Your move to what?
Activio?
Activio?
I think
Got
we'd
to
be great.
have it.
Because we're also, if we present on the HCP storage solution from our side, that's part of our backup future as well, so. So it would give a lot of different approaches.
A little bit longer to do panels out or something.
Tying it with what?
I'm just saying, that it sounds like we've got a convergence of a bunch of different people doing a lot of really good things.
The HCP's the targeted.
Just backup, but we're moving towards just tapeless backup, so with that.
Yeah,
Having it.
that's a good title for it too, moving to tabless backup.
And then did BYU have something to offer on backups too?
Yeah, so that started with Activio for backup. Now we're moving to tapeless backup, and that would be part Todd and sounds like you're doing something, Mike.
It'd be somebody from our organization also.
So
So you're saying your client side backup?
No, it's the same thing.
So it fits in this.
Uh-huh.
How about a 1 hour panel for 3 different sites, so 20 minutes each.
So it's gonna be CSU, BYU, and UU.
Backup strategies.
U of I also moved to tapeless backups like 3 years ago. We've been doing it a long time.
Are we doing both client side and server side for that?
UU and BYU. Testing my brain. So are there any external, we haven't had external speakers for a while. Sometimes I2 comes and presents the CIOs, anything you're dying to hear about from I2? Vendors, I know we're not big vendor fans, but are there things that, have you heard any great presentations lately?
I would personally, and maybe it's either from I2 or anyone here, is to hear about IPv6 rollout strategies, gotchas. I don't know if anyone's done that, but.
We've had many years of those talks. Not all of us are there. Somebody from the cult could show up. Right?
Yeah.
We've got an academic need for it. We don't have it deployed anywhere, so we're going to be deploying one network at least for an academic reason to our IT group, our IT group that teaches IT. So.
NCAR has rolled it. We have a numbering plan that is out there. Noah's rolled it.
That was deployed on the server side. We're supposed to deploy on the client side next. So it's done
Terribly,
2 years ago.
terribly unexciting. But yeah, we can talk about it.
Well, the reason I ask is that to me, it seems like there is a real strategy that needs to happen there, not only from a technical aspect, but a cultural aspect. Getting network engineers, their heads wrapped around it.
Well, security is an issue you have to
security
consider.
tools.
DNS, you have to.
Yeah, there's so many steps and phases that, to me, it seems it needs to be really well thought out.
But I don't know that I2's
Love to
actually
hear.
rolled IPv6. Well, I mean, they've got it, but they're not really in an environment like we're in.
It's gotta come from the CIO now, if you're gonna do it. It's hard to have just a network who's ever gonna do it.
All right.
In the Denver area, we worked for Cisco, his name's Tim Miller, I believe. He is the deployment IPv6 expert. And that's all he does for Cisco. He goes around, he spoke to us at UC Boulder. And he just gave a lot of good understanding about how to transition from IPv4, because we're really good at that.
Tim Martin, he
Tim
wants
Martin,
to fly
yeah.
around, he loves to talk about it, so
Yeah.
he's a possible speaker from
Yeah, he's a
Cisco.
vendor that,
Scott Hogan from.
And he and
Tim
Scott
Martin,
Hogue,
yeah.
Scott Hogue from GTRI, but Tim is at least, it's his job at Cisco to evangelize it and talk about it. He's good.
Yeah.
All right. Good. All right. We'll look, see if he can come, and then maybe we could do case studies for Noah and.
So, Chad or Chuck, could either of you ask if you could attend?
Yeah.
All right. Other topics?
Has anyone done anything with Docker?
Done a little bit on our HPC side, but not a whole lot.
Doesn't really fall in our bailiwick, you know, that's a different team, but we've done some work with Docker.
What is Docker?
Automated,
Containers.
basically a way to.
So we're looking at it on the University of Utah side to use containers to host our websites. There's lots of advantages towards it. So it's one of the big projects that we are working on.
Would you like a 30-minute Docker 101? Basics, what is a Docker, what is a container?
Microservices too.
Interesting to people?
Yeah.
So you two again are the.
So we work together.
Dave, you're gonna do them?
Yeah, Dave and I can do that, and we can show you how we're doing it on the web hosting side.
Okay.
Yeah, Todd commented here, we spend a long time working with Docker and, you know, in Matt's area, not in Todd's, but opted to do serverless architectures in AWS instead, so I don't know if there's any interest in that, but there is, maybe that's not here about serverless.
That would be good.
Yeah.
Serverless what?
Architectures.
You know, what'd be interesting is just to see what people are doing in the cloud. One of the things that we've struggled with is what services do you actually stick out there, like Azure. It'd be interesting to hear what people are doing.
I'm just
What do you do?
trying to understand their cost model.
You and me.
So generate a list of what services what are you hosting? Yeah, what are you doing in the cloud?
Who's gonna lead that?
Or what are you doing about that?
We can probably do something.
I mean, who's gonna gather? I mean, if we're trying to get everybody to sort of.
We could probably do that, since we're gonna talk about our data center move to the cloud and everything else, we can kind of put it all together.
Are there others that would like to be on that panel?
Or it's almost something that might maybe do a survey and
Yes, send out a
gather
survey and
results.
you can list what
And we
we've
can
done.
help Ryan if you need.
Yeah.
I say we usually, Fabian and Belinda have done these Google surveys that are pretty easy to put together. If you get us the questions, we can send it out, so.
Perfect.
We have a fairly big RTLS project going on now, and I'm really happy to present on that.
RPLS?
RTLS, real-time location service.
Okay. Well, we probably have a pretty good starting point. Is there anything else that people are itching to have on here?
Is there anything going on in the University of Arizona context that's unique and different that might lend itself to a good presentation?
Or tour.
Or tour,
The
yeah.
University of Arizona has two fabulous paleoclimate people that do great research on coral reefs. Oh, we could watch Chasing Coral. You can see all the corals being bleached. Yeah, so Julie Cole is fabulous, and Peck is. I know them both. So if people are interested in a scientific talk about.
A tour of Mount Lemmon, right? The observatory, wasn't that where it was?
No, we went to.
There's Skip Peak.
I know it's
Yeah,
big.
that was like hours.
It is kind of far away. We do have when it's working, we do have a virtual 3D lab. We have all kinds of 3D images. You can walk on Mars. You can
Do a hike in the national park.
Yeah, I don't know if we have a video. We have that kind of data. But we have all kinds of other.
No, a
data.
real walk in the national park. Actually,
Like in real life?
use our little feet.
IRL, real life?
We could organize something like that. We could organize a hike or something.
It's spectacular. Yeah, we'll think about whether there's some sort of, special presentation. The other thing that, I just saw a presentation on, which was sort of news to me, is NCAR is really looking at changing their big data, storage strategy, from deep archive tapes to potentially some cloud, but also, more accessible storage, and I can probably get someone to give a presentation about that. We may be somewhat unique in our magnitude of climate data that we have that we're trying to store, but it was kind of interesting because storage is costing more and more, and we're trying to incent people to get rid of stuff that they don't need and actually start charging algorithms and those kind of things. But if that's something of interest, we certainly can talk about that. But
So are you going into curation, et cetera, of that, or?
well, we already curate a huge amount of climate data. Our RDA is already one of the largest observational climate data locations, but curation data is one thing. The modelers are the problem. So they model, they put the stuff out there. There's a lot of data that's write once, read never, that just sits there forever because it doesn't cost a lot of money. And we have to do this data ooze project where this new technology comes in, you gotta get off the old technology on the new technology.
I think Dave talked about, the problem you guys are having here with just so much data, but what do you do with it? Maybe some sort of data analytics, I don't know if that's of interest.
That was the creation of the big data scientist. Kind of better.
Right.
It's this massive thing, tries to generate a report that someone wants.
Well, the other big buzzword, which you see me guys dealing with, is machine learning. And Jim, did you go to the talk at Scenic? Were you at Scenic? The Scott Sellers is a grad student at Scripps who's doing some really interesting machine learning where you're really trying to get, the data's so big, you're trying to get algorithms that can kind of cull through that data before humans actually look at it and get it down to a scale where you can actually look at it. I don't think anyone must be doing some machine learning stuff somewhere. But that's also a pretty interesting topic. And the Scott Zeller is just good presenter, and it has a scientific tie, but also a big data tie. So I could certainly ask him. He most likely he'd do a presentation remotely. I don't know if he.
What's his name?
Scott Sellers, I think is his name.
And he's with Scenic?
He's at Scripps. And he's a scientist doing, he's kind of one of these guys that's walking between science and technology. All right, anything else?
Joe, do you think we'll have enough experience with the cyber team's activity by January to give an update on how our regional approach to cyber teams?
Yes, I'm sure. That's maybe more questions or comments.
So maybe put that down as a.
Yeah,
as a
I'll put a cyber team. So that's CU and CSU and UU. Christos Papadopoulos is also doing a lot of interesting stuff, just security-wise, but he's doing a lot of this kind of trying to learn and fingerprint DDoS attacks more intelligently so that you can tell if it's really a DDoS attack versus not a DDoS attack. It's a simplified version of these. But I'm sure Christos would be happy to present if anybody's interested in hearing about that. We have done a CI proposal, but we haven't actually heard whether we're going to get that or not. So, if we have time, I'll look at that.
They just started announcing some of the grants yesterday.
Did they?
Since he said CSU, I'd be happy to ask him if you think we want to pursue that.
Yeah, let me get this laid out, Scott, and let's see how much time we have. We may be pretty tight on time, so. All right. So, somebody's up.
It's going to be 2 days, Marla? Two days?
2.5, so it'll be all day Tuesday, all day Wednesday, half day Thursday. That's what we usually do. Is that what people want to do? Do we want to do 2.5 days or we want to do 2 days? This has been a 2-day meeting. I think when we were in Fort Lewis, we did 2.5 days.
Okay, first day, you have the CIO day, then the 2 or 2.5, right? So,
This one was 2 days because of the OIN workshop. We would have normally done this as 2.5 days, but because of the OIN workshop, we cut this one by half day.
I like 2.5.
I think 2.5
We're about to leave with it.
So yeah, so it'll be Tuesday, Wednesday, half day Thursday. And I'll get a note out to the CIOs. The U of A hasn't hired a CIO yet.
We do have a new CIO.
Oh, really?
Well, she's not really CIO, she's Vice President for Information Technology and Library, something.
So it'd be great if she's interested. I'm not sure I've added, if you have her email, I'll add her to the CIO.
Yeah, I'll send you.
Yeah, if anybody has CIOs that are new or they think aren't, yeah, are you on the, I think I am. Jim, did I add you to the CIO?
I don't think so. I'll make sure.
If you'll drop me an email, I'll do the CIO. Yeah, so I know there's been a lot of CIO turnover. I think DU, I've added your CIO list.
And we're on a quarter system, so it's our second week of the quarter, and I just don't know if our CIO is gonna feel comfortable leaving, but I would try to encourage him to go. I know he does like those I2 type updates, so I would encourage that.
Yeah, we may do that.
Get the CIOs.
All right, so we swap people around. We must be the desk, is that what we're doing?
Yep.
All right, who's driving the desk discussion? Maybe you gonna walk through this,
I can walk through the results.
the survey results?
Who's driving the display? What's the best way to get them?
Yeah, I'm driving.
Are they on the link?
You know, they're on I can send a link. It's responses from the so I can send a link.
Anyway.
To them.
I think that, myself, recorded it.
That you said you wait. And while Dave's working on this, we're still missing some links. Or we're missing some talks. If you haven't sent me your presentation, please do.
You should have everything from me.
All right. You don't see your talk link, I don't have it. Or I've lost it.
You haven't checked your email?
So can we hear Todd now? Is it,
Not in the last half hour.
we got it so that Todd can talk to tell us what they've done with that recently?
What if we go and that first?
We can hear you, Todd.
Oh, we just heard you, yay. I didn't hear what he said.
What if we go, you guys go.
Let's just go for this.
Okay.
Yeah, Marla, I sent you a link in that. I sent you a link.
Recently?
Yes.
It's very windy and warm. It's gonna be awesome.
100 miles an hour.
Do we still have Mark on the call too?
Nope.
Mark was one of the guys.
Tony and Todd.
They just sent you an email with a link to results. That should
Send it to, which one? Utah, is your one?
Pardon?
My Utah?
I sent it to. I can send it wherever you'd like, but I sent it to, yes, Utah.
Okay.
So if you click up, if you go on,
You sent me that's the link for the,
that should be the result, that's responses.
You know, makes you wonder.
Well, San Diego's.
yeah, just you log in here.
And that's why the week was named. But it could be. You've seen that. I don't know.
We just watched it because we're pitching up on
I'm not sure how that's gonna work. It's got great, it's great. She thought it was kind of goofy. That's really good music. It's got bad. You know, that was kind of first.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Yeah, use that.
Use what?
Use that. You can log into your Gmail and then click on the link and send me.
I didn't realize that it was that.
Yeah.
I knew it was still somewhere. Very underappreciated.
Uber board member cracks inappropriate joke about women at company event on sexual harassment. How many years?
First they fire their.
Okay, so I guess I'm not really clear on what the format of this is, but let me just kind of talk about this survey. So the point of sending this survey out was just trying to solicit some direction, some ideas about deploying in-building cellular solutions at NCAR-UCAR. So this has been an ongoing challenge, I would say, for us and my team for a long while, just keeping the continuity of cellular signals within our buildings. We've had many conversations about, you know, the green buildings being those that are struggling the most. I would argue that, you know, our Mesa Lab building, if you're familiar with it, or if you're not, it's like a castle sitting way up high up above Boulder proper. So it actually sits in an area that struggles with cellular signal, one, just based on geography, two, based on construction. So that's kind of the why, why we're interested in solving this problem. Our Mesa Lab also happens to be kind of when it's the flagship building, but it has the tours. It has a lot of attraction to the public. So we have a problem bringing people in, onboarding. There's all these technology drivers. The exhibits as an example, you know, there's this idea of people using their cell phones to help give self-guided tours through the buildings, through the exhibits, and then just convenience. So we've long been interested in how do we keep this continuity of cellular coverage when you come into these green buildings, or in this case, the Mesa Lab. We struggle because we're dispersed. We have 15 buildings in Boulder, and 15 structures, I should say. They're not all really large buildings, but that's a different model. I mean, so when we talk about the large number of cellular users we have, either as public or as employees, it's attractive. But when we tell a carrier, yeah, it's across 15 locations, 15 structures, they're less interested in helping us solve that problem. You know, if this was 2,000 people in a single building, or if this was 15,000 people in a single building, yeah, they're all on it. They want those customers, and they want that happy experience from them. When you tell them it's going to cost, you know, it's 1 million square feet across, you know, these different structures, it's a completely different story. The summary is it's our problem to solve. So we've been looking at cellular DAS and amplification. The reason it's our problem is because nobody else knew how to deal with it. Nobody else wanted to deal with it. NCAR nets historically has had what we called our ENet, or entertainment net. Way back in the days, it was radio signal, you know, and then some coax with some TV signal to bring into the lounges, or to some, you know, I guess early generation disaster rooms and whatnot. So that just kind of translated, and hey, my phone's not working. I think we actually deployed an early coax system for Nextel, right? That was just for us to do our work, for our facilities group, or for us as network installers to be able to communicate via Nextel when we're trying to do our installations. And that's really was the grassroots kind of beginning of cellular amplification for us. The problem has been expense, I guess, right? You know, there was some early technologies that were kind of partially baked. I think we'll fast forward to today. I think there are some solutions out there. I'm somewhat partial to what was an Andrews bit of equipment purchased by CommScope, the ION system, the node A, B, C, and then the ION. Right now, I guess up to generation E. I think I'm not here to advocate for one solution. I think that's a great solution. It's, to me, what I've been able to find as the only true active DAS and carrier agnostic solution, including public safety. So it's really the one piece of equipment that I've been able to find with a single access point that does some of these technologies that we've talked about, pass through of networks, power over Ethernet, and a single AP that can be tuned to all these different carriers. Why is it good at all of those things? Because it's very, very expensive. So this, I guess that's kind of a summary. This is kind of what I was reaching for in this survey is what equipment are people using? What solution have you deployed? Meanwhile, the technology of Wi-Fi calling, right, is showed up. You know, we've known about it for years, but it wasn't supported by the carriers. They were kind of dragging their feet in enabling this. This last year, I guess a year and a half, but mostly this last year, I think all the carriers have come around and enabled Wi-Fi calling on their networks, and with very minor tweaks from our networks, our enterprise style networks, we're able to use that technology. I think the results of this survey, there's 8 respondents you can see. I think they actually, and that's why I started this questionnaire survey out this way, is trying to differentiate between who's pursuing RF amplification in their in buildings and who very simply just kind of use this new technology and jumped onto Wi-Fi calling. The results are pretty clear.
So what does the first question mean? I don't understand what enabling Wi-Fi calling.
Yeah,
that,
I didn't really understand.
Not launching Wi-Fi calling, or what do you have to do to enable Wi-Fi calling?
So there's a couple of things. First of all, it's not as simple for some of us who have upgraded or staying with our access points, keeping them up to date. It's a little easier than maybe some of the legacy access points. But first of all, your access points have to have some technologies embedded in them, namely QoS, right? Wi-Fi calling demands that you have to have some ability to either differentiate or apply some QoS on those access points in order to have a positive experience. Not to say it wouldn't work, but it would be a very poor user experience to the point where it's almost more headache, more trouble for you to enable it. It wouldn't be a satisfactory experience. So, and from there's some other, excuse me, I'm not actually, completely well versed in the network bit of it. I know there's also some ports, some things that need to be opened up in the network in order to allow that voice traffic coming in with certain carriers.
you're blocking, you're limiting what can go out on your wireless network?
It's not necessarily a block or limiting, but it's,
Our apples just happen to interfere, for example, with T-Mobile, certain protocols T-Mobile uses. I mean, we've had users where they can receive calls, but they can't talk, or, you know, and it's because we have an ACL-based firewall, so, and they don't always, tell you when they're blocking, and then certain things change, so we fixed it once, and then it was an upgrade to T-Mobile, and it started again. So we're not consciously, you know, we're not saying, oh, no, you can't send this, it's just the method that they use to implement it. And I think you guys are Verizon only, so, maybe that simplifies that, but we got people on AT&T, T-Mobile, Sprint, AT&T, you know,
Yeah, we have people on.
Google, whatever.
So from an enterprise, we use Verizon, but people use whatever they have, right?
Yeah.
So we don't block our outbound ports, so they can connect outbound.
it was really T-Mobile, I guess. So when I was speaking to that, one, it's the hardware bit in QoS that makes it for a quality experience, and then as Marla points out, those ACLs. And it was T-Mobile, actually AT&T we had a challenge with as well. And really that comes from all these other people with these other handsets that say, you know, we're not supporting Wi-Fi calling, but we're saying, hey, this technology has been enabled by your carriers. It's complex because every carrier handles it a little bit differently. Every device is either, you know, able to do it or not able to do it. You don't want to tell somebody go purchase a new device and it will work, because sometimes it doesn't. So that was really what I was getting to, is have you enabled it? Because, well, at least from my experience, our experience, there was some tweaking. There was some tweaking that needed to happen.
So Fabian, CSU is one of the no responses, and that means that we didn't take extra action to make a good user experience. I suspect that some of the people that answered yes, we've enabled that, means that, you know, they really haven't done anything special. You can presumably use Wi-Fi for cellular calls, but it's unsupported in your own.
Yeah, I think that would be probably the better wording we should use.
Yes.
You know, are you formally supporting it? Have you formally announced it? Do you know the troubleshooting?
Yeah, that's excellent feedback. Thank you. This is all in all a huge learning experience for me. So, so I appreciate that feedback. And yes, and actually that clarification, I think I will. Somebody to this actually was written. This was really the beginning, the kickoff. Obviously, I sent it last week before WestNet. I do hope to carry this into some other communities that I and we contribute to, i.e. Quilt. I was thinking, you know, from the Quilt, we can get a national perspective on this, and that would also be helpful. But these results are actually, I mean, they're even this sampling here is kind of telling. So from here, the image that I get is most people are using Wi-Fi calling, right? The other disclaimer I need to make is I could and probably should clean up some of this data and these responses, because yes, as you point out, a no response is actually kind of to answer some of the questions without a response because you didn't do any specific action. Well, it can tell more of a clear story. Most people are using Wi-Fi calling and not DAS. There are some people who actually follow and going through and using using DAS or in-building amplification. Of the responses, that total 3, right, that are actually doing some form of amplification within our buildings. But as you can see, most are not. Most are either working on ambient signal or just Wi-Fi calling seem to work. Question number 3 is which signals do you actually amplify? So this is a commercial almost, right? You know, clearly Verizon is one of the larger networks. Most people are familiar with the network. I think really it's Verizon works in more areas, but of the respondents, more people are using Verizon and AT&T, the big two. Not a big surprise there. And LTE is that's a signal of choice. If you have a modern phone, smartphone, it's going to be LTE or XLTE. Sorry.
So at the U of A, obviously we have both AT&T and Verizon on our DAS, but we just recently acquired, or T-Mobile has expressed interest in joining our DAS. So we're going to start seeing T-Mobile show up on our desks.
I had some questions about your response, and I'd like to talk, a little bit more about that, or maybe we can do it here, but yeah, and I figure some questions are gonna come up about all the different carriers, that I included on there. That's just every carrier that is represented in the United States. Again, that was me kind of forward thinking as we go to the national level. Some of those other carriers might actually show up, so.
Sprint hasn't expressed much interest at all, surprisingly. We're trying to build our network out, but they haven't. There's no interest at this point.
Well, the problem with asking these questions is like, I'm looking at what I got a message sent to me from somebody at BYU. And, we got Verizon in some buildings and AT&T in a couple others, and some different ones in the stadium. I mean, and there's different technologies and different, spider cloud and a lot of different things going on, different places on campus.
That's all helpful, and that's kind of why I tried to structure it that way. You could select the different technologies for the different carriers, because that's actually not that uncommon. Us as an example, in our north Boulder area, we have one building that has a Sprint macro cell on the roof of it, and clearly, for our Sprint customers, any Sprint customers in that building, that area, they're completely happy. They didn't even realize there's a problem with it. Even though it's a green building, was just remodeled. After that remodel, every person that has a handheld belonging to a different carrier, obviously they're screaming up and down, what the heck, what happened? This question here was actually kind of the heart of what we were trying to get to. For us, the FCC ruling 90, which mandated that any enterprise DAS system have carrier approval to proceed, to continue to re-amplify or rebroadcast, is really, from our perspective, what shut us down. Before that, we had a passive DAS. It was a broadband. It was kind of wide open. Anything that was on the air, we were receiving, we were amplifying in the buildings, and all was pretty happy. I mean, I have an RF engineer who's helping us to balance these things out, and it was all working. The fact that we needed to receive, we needed to negotiate or work with each of the carriers to get formal approval to reamplify, shut it down. We had one carrier that we were able to work through that received that request favorably, Verizon, and we have a rebroadcast agreement with Verizon. All others, those that we reach out to, AT&T said, carte blanche, we don't authorize reamplification in your region, which is our region. So we're like, I mean, that was just
In the Rocky Mountain region.
right. That's all of, I mean, yes. So when I mean our region, it's WestNet basically. You look at the map that we have represented on WestNet, and they say we don't do it. I know through friends in the community that there are rebroadcast agreements in big venues and that type of thing, but it's not NCAR and it's not our 15 buildings that they go. So this was kind of the heart of the question. I was like, who's successfully working and doing rebroadcast agreements, and with which carrier? Now, the one rebroadcast agreement, no, I had to look at that a little bit more. That's not somebody rebroadcasting without an agreement. What that is that's actually a continuation of we're not doing in-building cellular. So this is an example of something that I should clean up, because that's a little bit misleading right there.
So at the U of A, we actually work with a third-party broker. We're working with a company called One Go Wireless. And they go out and secure all of these agreements to rebroadcast. And so I wasn't quite sure how to answer this one, so I may have answered no, but what we do through this third party who's brokering on behalf of us.
And that's a normal model. That's a very different model. With the integrator model, where they already hold or negotiate these rebroadcast agreements. There again, I had talked about the Andrews system or the ION system.
Right.
That's why these things have taken long to come to market, and why there's also a premium on top of them, is because they come with those approvals, right? The systems have been vetted by all the carriers, and they've,
There's a question.
I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, in particular,
All right.
did you, which question?
Well, we're probably gonna say the same thing.
Oh,
So it's okay.
go ahead.
So the university's been successful in some rebroadcast agreements, even with AT&T. But one of the important differences is that we do it per building. If we were to have a single head ed where we want to broadcast, they will say resoundingly no. And one of the big issues surrounds the E911. If you're going to rebroadcast, you can only have donor antenna on the specific building where you're going to rebroadcast.
Right.
So they're very specific about that geographically, and we have a pretty dense outdoor node ODAS system that is managed through a third party. We work with Crown Castle for our ODAS nodes. So they've given us some leeway, and they'll bring in source signal for LTE.
Yep.
They're happy to do that, but then, well, not always happy, but they'll work with us and bring in source signal. The problem we have is our older phones don't work, because when they bring in source signal, they won't bring in any of the 3G
Right.
network signal at all. And at that point, they brought in source signal, then they're willing to do a rebroadcast agreement only for 3G.
Yes, thank you very much for that clarification. That's exactly what our experience
Do you
is,
have
but that
multiple
source signal.
broadcast agreements? I mean,
Yes, we're working on
and
another
literally lists the buildings, says,
Mhm.
okay, you can rebroadcast in this building, you can rebroadcast.
And there's actually websites now that they give us and we can go out.
There's a boilerplate for us that we use for our buildings. And we have to have a certain occupancy. We have a building that has 25 people in it, we're not gonna get a rebroadcast agreement. So, I mean, that's certainly true, and trying to say that we're gonna say we'll have 10 buildings together so we get the occupancy, they'll just say no.
Right. So for us, our campus doesn't fit that model, right? That's kind of what I was alluding to at the very beginning. If you have this large building with a lot of people in there, that one location, it's a different model. It can work that way. For our example,
But we can
What's
have
the
a
limit?
small,
I mean, we have 400 people.
we have found places where we have a community clinic, a dialysis clinic, for example, that doesn't necessarily have a lot of people in it. And even when it's full, there's still not a lot of people, even if it's patients. We may only have 25 people in that building at any given time. And we do work with them, and we'll talk about, we have to write a business case for them. We have to tell them what the building's used for, how many different people come into the building. We actually help them, work with them to put in a report of how many AT&T users do we see in over a 3-month, 4-month period, how many T-Mobile users. So we help them get that information, and we work really closely with them. And if they feel that this is a community outreach, if we can make a good argument for them, they're more willing to help us with a rebroadcast agreement. Especially when on those small buildings, but it looks really good to have it working, they're willing to do that. Or we'll bring in some other small, sometimes even small business amplification system, like a small cell or even a cell phone they'll bring in.
So
And I
we
think
did
the other key-
provide all that detail to them. We wrote a very elaborate document explaining, that this is a national center, that we gave them a visitor count, how many visitors come in every year, how many staff are there, why this is a weird remote location, and it wasn't, the woman we dealt with seemed quite rational and reasonable, but she claimed she was getting pushback from somewhere else. And so maybe
Okay if I
things
dismiss
have
those?
changed. Has this been relatively?
Okay if I dismiss those?
No, I won't.
The last year or two, it's
So
been
that's
pretty
probably more
consistent.
recent than we've tried this. We kind of gave up a couple years ago. So maybe AT&T's loosened up a little bit. So
I
are you
think-
willing to share like the link where you said there's a boilerplate? Absolutely.
I think the other key factor to that was they put a base station in to that location, right?
They don't want you rebroadcasting LTE.
Off the
That's
air.
an absolute no.
And you chose to say they were very happy to do it, or they were willing to do it. There was I'm sure there was a cost associated with that, right? Our quote for that was $25,000 for them to bring a base station in, that they wanted us to pay them. So that was also prohibitive per location, that we just talked about, because they don't want to allow it at the campus level, and that'd be one thing if that was for all our 15 buildings, but that's not the model. So.
And we have, even though our buildings are not distributed and far apart from each other, I would argue we deal with the exact same thing. Each building is a case by case. We have the Lassonde building because it's combined classroom and dorms. We had different requirements and had to have different conversations, but the reality is, if it's an energy efficient building and the cell signal isn't making it in, you just have to keep pestering them and working with them. And then you also have to decide if the investment is needed. our housing and residential education organization told us they had to have cell signal in that building, and so a DAS system was part of the building budget, and that was just the expectation.
That's the thing. I'm sorry.
So that's what we're doing now with our new buildings is we're building we're speccing our new buildings with the ability to add DAS to it. And now we're gonna push for adding it to the budget of building new buildings that this is just one more system to put in as some sort of DAS, small cell or something.
But the carrier source signal budgets, so for our new buildings, you say 25,000, it can cost the carrier 100,000 for the size that they have to bring in base stations. Their budgetary cycle, as we've worked with them, is 18 to 24 months. So when we hear about a potential new building, we are going out far before we break ground, before we even start doing some of the normal work that we do in planning for buildings. We reach out to the carriers and let them know there's going to be a new building. In about 20, we're going to start working on it. Expect in 36 months. So let's get talking about it. So we can get that new building or new location put on those carriers' roadmap, because there are all sorts of other organizations and businesses out there asking for that money. So they do have some development funds that can provide and help provide those base stations, but they have to request it and they're limited in funds. And what we found is they promise us base stations, they promised at Lasan, they promised at some of our community clinics, and they would have them on the go live, and they, in some cases, they delivered yes, at no cost to us, but they delivered 12 months late. Because they do, unless you want to pay for it. If you want to pay the 100,000 or the 25,000 for the base station. But if we're relying on the carrier to fund those base stations, we are limited by their funding cycle.
Right.
And which is why Sprint isn't interested right now.
Right.
They're not talking to us because they don't have money.
Yeah.
T-Mobile's had a little influx, and we have the same situation where T-Mobile's excited about building out.
And then you have the complication like John hinted at, where you have Verizon go out and buy a whole, basically factory full of spider pod solutions, and then coming to you and saying, we'll do it for free, but you have to take spider pod. That's your only choice.
You can't use your
You can't use your own solution. And so, there's all these angles.
And that becomes those as a hardware are also a single carrier solution, right? So that's great for the Verizon handsets that walk in, but not for all. I figured it was going to kind of go in there. Why DAS, right? Why even DAS? And that's where I am. I've spent all this time now thinking, why do we need a DAS, or who needs an actual DAS system? And is it worth paying, chucking those bucks or all that planning to play? And what it amounts to, especially with the wireless technology, this is just my idea, is based on the user experience. If you have, I think those of us who have staff, faculty, who can come in, who are familiar with our networks, who we can install certificates on, get them onto the wireless in some way, then it's a different kind of story. If you have people coming in from the public who you're not.
Even your faculty members have to have newer phones, and as crazy as it may
Yes,
seem,
that's true too, yes.
we have a lot of faculty and physicians that are tied to an old iPhone 5 that cannot do Wi-Fi calling.
Yep.
Or an old Android. And so what we see is Wi-Fi calling can solve a lot of problems. For us, it solves the problem with students. They typically have new phones and they're fine. And they use other ways to communicate anyway. They don't make as many phone calls. They'll use other means, whether it's Snapchat or iMessage or whatever technology where they're using Wi-Fi anyway.
Right.
It's the older phones, and it's actually that 3G network. When your carrier brings in a new cell, they're bringing in their source signal, or they bring in even a small cell solution, they are not bringing in 3G, and the old phones don't work. So the old phones don't work on Wi-Fi, but if you're doing Wi-Fi calling, and they don't work with the source signal they're bringing.
How about the Skype for Business clients, since you guys support that or link?
It works on old phones.
Yeah.
So is this just a 5-year problem?
You know what? I think it's more like a 10-year problem, because
Okay.
the phones that we have out there today
the mobile phones that we see phones out there. I think Dave and I were talking about someone in UEN that has a phone that's 9 years old. They're trying to get it working.
No, I updated to a bio.
They're not in this.
I had a 15-year-old.
This is their cell phone.
Oh, cell phone. It was how old? Did they have cell phones? 9 years ago? I didn't see that.
So to say it's a 5-year problem, at least in education, and when we have the public coming and using our facilities, people, if they can, they'll hang on to their own cell phones. And those that do are going to be the hardest to support because they're already changing first. Otherwise they wouldn't have.
Right.
There's a reason the carriers have made their new phones so that you can't change the battery on it easily.
Well, and I'm gonna be honest, I've been surprised. I mean, I'm not gonna give names, but a person on our campus that won an award for being an entrepreneur in this state in the last 6 months and is very, very well respected in our community. He's still running an iPhone 5. He spends a lot of time at Lassonde because it's our entrepreneurial center. And he's, you know, and so it's not just, you know, it's not just a convenience.
Yeah, these are researchers, professors.
They just don't care.
Physicians, scientists.
You need me to do something?
It's not just the community.
Is that Taylor?
Technologists.
Devices.
Is it Taylor? You can certainly afford that.
It's never.
I know.
But at least those phones won't catch on fire.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
how long will the carriers drop support for 3G?
You know, we've asked them that question and they just dance around the issue. I don't know.
They're still making money off of it.
Probably for quite a while.
It's-
That's right, that's their ultimate plan thing, right?
What I can tell is it's with adoption of 5G, which they're pushing now, and you know, they won't be able to carry forward 3G with the deployment of 5G, which they're saying now is full deployment 2020. We've been pushing that. They've been pushing that forward for.
As I say, our outdoor nodes on campus, we only recently upgraded to LTE just last summer. So our campus outdoor nodes were all 3G, and that's not unusual. There are a lot of cell towers out there that don't have LTE. So the carrier infrastructure has a long way to go. It's just, if they're spending the money for base stations, they're in this attrition phase where anything new will not have the old system.
The other thing to keep in mind is 3G is still the preferred signal in rural areas. In rural areas, because the infrastructure is not there, the density, they don't have the tower density necessary to keep 4G or LTE technology, to provide 4G or LTE technology to those areas. So yeah, there's a lot of other factors. But what are the other things that I'm sorry?
Oh, I was just gonna say, and for those that are worried about AT&T and us helping you with AT&T, AT&T's headless in the Rocky Mountain region. Tony Petropoli, who was the person you probably escalated to 2 years ago, who was the person that controlled the $250 million a year that was invested in our Rocky Mountain region from AT&T. He was promoted back east about 3-4 months ago, and they still haven't replaced him. So when I have AT&T problems right now, I have no escalation path because they're headless for the investment. And that just kind of describes for you how, what Caprice was describing. He was given $250 million a year by AT&T to run his region and to invest. Well, our football stadium alone cost $1.5 million for Verizon, when Verizon did their investment in our football stadium. So that $250 million gets burned really fast when you're considering the size of the Rocky Mountain region.
Absolutely.
And so you know, that's the reality.
Oh yeah, we're not one of those big target items. We don't have a stadium, right? We're talking about the tour at NCAR. I feel for you, the schools, because where we can commiserate on the struggles to actually deploy the technology, you are in a much more pressing place than I am, because your customers demand it, they expect it, and they demand it. You know, for us, it's a business continuity, it's kind of a convenience thing. We right now can say, hey, this is a best effort type of a thing, it's convenient for you. We provide you a desk phone. Right now, we talked about some of the other things we're providing, but it's not part of our mission to formally make sure that we have ubiquitous cellular coverage right now. It's best effort. So that's the other bit is when people are coming in and they expect it, they can't be onboarded, and it's part of your business model where you need to create that seamless cellular experience for them to be happy in your establishment. And it's also another reason why you come up with those numbers.
I certainly think Mike has to have it for especially for the medical side.
Well, on the medical side, absolutely. I was going to say that's, as you pointed out over and over.
It'd just be like a BYU where we don't have a medical school. I'm not so sure that's critical for us.
And that's actually the perfect segue into what I think is going to be the future. We've talked about it, which is the public safety element of this.
We have life safety issues.
Yeah. The life safety and public safety, I think, the new legislation that's gonna mandate that we have RF amplification of public safety frequencies in all of our new buildings. They're saying now also 2020. We don't.
Oh, so we can't get occupancy. We have, every single building has to have at least public safety tests and has had for a number of years.
Is that a Salt Lake City requirement? Or
I don't know where
It's under fire code.
It's under our fire.
Or the state?
I don't know if it's state.
I just wonder what level of regulation we're talking.
I think it comes from the state fire marshal.
I just know that we can't get on.
You can check with the fire
I just haven't been at Big Shady when we built the building. I don't remember hearing those kind of requirements. Maybe your buildings are of a certain size of fire. I don't know. The regulation.
Usually the fire marshal does, when they do occupancy, they do walk-through radios and check.
Okay, so if you're outside radio penetrates well enough, you're
All right. Well, I'm getting the time call. I think I'll just cover just quickly the last two signals. And I think these really kind of summarize what we're saying. Basically, Verizon, AT&T, Active DAS. Active DAS is the primary thing. That's what works. You go with a BTS, you justify it, or you make a case to the carriers to help fund it. And that's the system that seems to be working. And usually, and that's no surprise unless you have a highly skilled RF engineer, you get an integrator that already has the rebroadcast agreements in pocket and deploys it. So, sorry for running long.
You're not long, I just.
No.
Question.
Oh, okay.
And I would like to
Questions?
plug the Above Ground magazine. It's a great publication on this topic, and there are lively articles each and every month of the debate of where this is going, what's going to happen next, where the money's being spent. They have an annual issue that brings you up on the state of affairs of all these spends and the big trends. So if this is a real passionate topic, I really recommend this magazine. There's a Tower of the Month every month in the middle, a centerfold. I enjoy reading each and every month.
Just for the article.
Well, we will look at this survey and, any input people have, and I appreciate you getting, leading the discussion. So, any other questions at the end? Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, everybody.
So Ellen gets to wrap us up here.
And it may not be very long, depends on how interested you are in this. And so it was Kelly, I think, that wanted me to talk about this, and he's not here, so. I'll do it anyway, and,
All right. So is there anything magical I have to do? It just works?
Yep.
All right. So Kelly asked me to talk about PFSense and what we're doing with it at Dixie State. Just to introduce myself, I'm Alan Fox. I'm the Director of Network Services at Dixie State. I'm 6'11", everybody wants to know, so just to answer that question. And before I went to Dixie, I should say back to Dixie, I worked at UEN for over 10 years, so. But it's nice to be back on campus here, and it's a pleasure to see so many familiar faces. Anyway, so Dixie State is located in St. George, Utah, established in 1911, and we are currently about 9,000 students.
Enrolled or full-time equivalent students?
I'm not sure. I would have to talk to one of those people in accounting. So, we are growing though. Our number of students that we have enrolled is increased. We had the largest freshman year last year in our history, so which is good for us. It's a wonderful place to get out of the cold and get your education. So, for all the people in the Wasatch Front. Anyway, so here was our problem that we had on our distribution firewall. We had Cisco FWSMs. I don't know if anyone else here has had that life experience, but in our old core of our network, we had two 6509 Cisco chassis, and in each one of those we had an FWSM in a failover pair. And it worked okay, I think, initially when they were installed, but as things moved along, they didn't. We started having performance problems. You can see that the last day of support is this year for those. That's also was a concern. Then the cost of support is through the roof on these things. They're just, they desperately want you to buy firewalls again. So, well, you should anyway. Do something different. So they claim that you can get 5.5 gigabit through the FWSM. This is a lie. But it's over a virtual port channel, which is 1 gig virtual port. So one flow, the maximum of one flow is actually only going to give you 1 gig. So that's going to be your max through an FWSM on a certain flow. Then I read another bit of article that said, with optimal settings, you get about 60%. So you can really get about 600 megabit on one flow through an FWSM. I think it's on a good day when it's, there's nothing else going on the device. So anyway, so performance issues that we had performance issues through our FWSM as well. So this made us need to make a change. Oh, here we go. So this is the things that we were looking at. On our distribution firewall replacement, Cisco for a pair of ASAs to replace and do what we needed to do was going to be about $96,000 that we didn't have. But the PFSense solution, it's free software. That's a good price. And the servers for a pair, redundant pair, is about $11,000. So. And really, I should have my ISO here telling you all about this because he really ends up running the system for us, but the network's obviously involved. So what we ended up doing is buying 2 Dell servers, 120 gigabyte solid state mirror, 2 socket, 4 core, 3 gigahertz. We went with the highest gigahertz we could get in less cores, I think, 32 gigs of RAM. And then the NICs are one of the more important aspects to this. We're only connected at 10 gigabit, 2 10 gig connections in these things. There are 2 cards in each of them, but we're only running 10 gigs to them currently. So on bare metal, we first of all, we did a kind of a proof of concept before we bought hardware. We took 2 old servers, threw 10 gig NICs in them, and through as much bandwidth as we could to see where they'd cap out. On the older hardware, we were getting over 7, around 8 gigabit throughput. So it was promising enough to buy new hardware. On this new hardware, on bare metal, we get 9.1 gigabit. That's with inspection through the box. And that's really good for, you know, $5,500. And then the virtual one that was running on the same hardware, but there's the hypervisor on there. It's not as good. And so we left one bare metal and one with a hypervisor on there. And the rate through it, we haven't exceeded that, so that's not a concern as of yet, but we'll look at that. So just a little bit on pfSense. If you don't know what it is, it runs on FreeBSD. The design of the operating system and everything is that you install the package. You don't have to maintain the OS. It's all managed and updated through its web interface, which is nice. It was a fork off of MonoWall. If anyone's heard of that, back in 2004. And so they've had almost 14 years of development on this, and so it's pretty mature. So on this diagram here is just a basic layout of how we've connected things. Each building, this is on the buildings, and they connect. Each building has multiple networks. A network will connect back to a VRF on the distribution. These are 6880s, Cisco 6880s in a VSS pair. But the network, say it was a workstation network, would connect back into a VRF. That VRF routes up to the pfSense firewall on the inside interface, and then routes it back into the general routing table on distribution, and then it will route from there to wherever else it needs to go in the network, if that makes sense. So the building could have 7 or 8 different networks. Each goes into a different VRF based on its security profile, and then our ISO builds up the rule sets for whatever that VRF interface on here in our pfSense. Any questions on that?
Did you look at OpenSense, or did?
What, sorry?
Did you look at OpenSense or just pfSense?
Just pfSense. I don't know if the ISO looked at OpenSense or not, but yes, your question.
I was curious on your VMware. I mean, there was a pretty huge performance hit there.
Yeah.
Are you running that through standard or distributed virtual switches, and did you do any tuning to any of the kernel parameters?
Wish my ISO was there. I don't know what all he did. I think he looked at trying to get special drivers into the VMware for the NIC. I don't know if he was successful in that or not. But I know that they can make quite a bit of difference. Obviously on bare metal it was performing quite a bit better. So, but the virtualization, the advantage in virtualization is why we wanted to try it. He was also going to put up a small test instance in other space on that VM box so that he could do test upgrades and things, I think, before pushing it on production. All right. So this is the dashboard when you first log into pfSense. I'm not going to go into any great detail. Here you can see, give you that nice graph of current throughput of what's going on the box. You can see here all of our sub interfaces into the box, and they are in a pair in 2 different locations on campus, and each interface that you want to fail over, you consume 3 IP addresses to make that happen for in the routed relationship. Anyway, so they have a VIP address for that failover. And the rule sets are interesting. I haven't done them myself, but there's a lot of options in PFSense and things that you can actually even get into advanced rules that will let you limit rules based on operating system. I thought that was interesting. They will fingerprint which kind of OS is talking to it. You can say, I only want Linux, this version, to be able to get out or to reach this. I don't know how useful that is, but it's there. Also, there's a disable function on the rule. I like that kind of idea. Like, I want to leave the rule here, but I want to suspend it for right now. I kind of like that concept among the other just edit, modify, delete kind of functionality in the rule set. And then this is my last kind of beef. This is ugly. I understand and appreciate that, but that's kind of what I wanted to illustrate. And it wraps. I want to make it big enough. This is what the log looks like to go into syslog of a block. And I'm used to reading Cisco ASA, firewall logs to find out if something's getting blocked, and reading this garbage. I mean, there's a lot more information here, but it's sorting through it. So that's been an adjustment for me, and that's really been my only beef with it. I was a little bit concerned going with an open source kind of solution, and this is in the middle of our network. And if it goes down, it's a bad day. And having the failover with it is important. So we implemented this probably back. I think we finished cutting over, when was it? Into fall. We were just finishing up into fall. So we'd move each VRF at a time off of the FWSMs on the PFSense, and performance went up. It was a lot better, and we haven't had any problems with them, honestly. They'll fell over seamlessly, and they're great. I'm really pleased with it, and pleased that we were able to save quite a bit of money on that kind of middle of the network firewall. If disaster did happen, I guess we could always dump the VRFs right into the general routing table and bypass the PFSense and just have them route unprotected until we had something else to do. But we're just protecting ourselves from ourselves in that scenario, building from each other and from the labs and things like that. So, yeah. So, any questions about that?
I got a couple.
Yeah, sure.
So, are you sending your logs to a syslog box?
That's where they're going right now.
Are you doing any parsing then to make that a little more
readable? I know that our security guys working on Elk Stack and making that happen. I don't know if that's going to make it more readable though. I would like to see them cleaned up in a more readable format so that it's more digestible, and there's a lot of extra information in there. I think that I don't know how helpful it is.
Personally, I find them a lot more readable once they get into the last one. So.
Yeah, as long as you can figure out that parsing piece.
What each column means,
yeah,
that would be nice.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's documented. I'm sure it's not hard. So.
Yeah, once you do that, you ran that to the Elastic Stack, would be awesome.
What are you running on your border then?
The border is it's a ASA 55. What, 55.8 is the 10 version, so we don't have that much throughput through it, but we haven't hit that as a barrier yet for ourselves. We are looking at replacing that. It's getting on an age, so is our data center ASA.
So with your experience now, are you feeling brave that you would use that on your border? Or do you think,
well,
that's not a border product?
I'd have to that's really ultimately the ISO will make that decision. I would prefer it to be as resilient and reliable as possible. That being said, we may want some next gen features in a border firewall that we're not getting out of PFSense.
Is the IPv6 listed there anywhere? Are you doing anything with IPv6?
Not yet. We will be here this year. We have our CIT group wants to do some IT classes, and they want to teach kids students, I should say, not kids, about IPv6, so.
It's okay, they are kids.
Some of them, yeah. Anyway. So, but I don't think that being said, I don't know if it will be inspected by our PFSense box. The problem, the way we handle those kind of networks generally get handled on the border and then we hand them off to the CIT. So, any other questions? Great.
Thank you. So, Matt, you hinted kind of slyly in a sly, quick in your list that you're getting rid of fiber. Why is that?
Our current CISO finds that it's not valuable to him, especially pre-NAT, post-NAT. We've tried placing it outside our firewall, we've tried placing it inside our firewall. And most of our traffic, or a lot of our traffic, is wireless traffic that gets NATed. So it doesn't help him with wireless clients figure out who's done what. It's a very expensive package, and he feels he's going to get everything that he's getting out of that package out of Palo Alto's. So we're pulling the appliance, and we had bought it originally as an edge type box with the mail product. We ditched the mail product 2 years ago. So really, we're FireEye's dead to him. So all right, we're out.
Okay.
He's been sold the Palo Alto story up, down, left, right. We're doing that.
Well, we have Palo Alto on the edge, but our ISO hasn't told us they love, there are some things even recently FireEye has detected as far as our challenges and problems.
We moved to Darktrace for a lot of that malware, suspicious call-out activity, and then we moved to CrowdStrike on the PC level, which picks up a lot of that at the computer level. So those are our new next generation tools that do what FireEye did for us. So you can't have so many tools, and then we go down a lot of road and we're health stack. We have a lot of tools that are new tools that he's really want to use. So.
Yeah, clearly you can't boil the ocean. You have to put the tools that are giving the most value. So I just wondered. That was surprising.
But we will have some 5585.
I was going to
Or school. 5585 what? SSP 20. That's where very years ago. Oh, yes. Okay, yeah. We've got a year of offense over.
Yes, please. Put that on the border instead, that would be much better. Let's make a deal.
Did you ever run into
Maybe.
Anything that's 100 packets per second, that's probably sound.
No,
Kind of
it's
just like
drop
using timer. It's back on your Palo Alto to get rid of it. What kind of syslog server? On your Palo Alto too? Are you using Splunk or?
Elliot,
Let's go to this first time yesterday, but we're working with all of our last.
is yours?
That's you. All right, so before we break up, just to end the day with a scientific note, if I haven't tortured you enough about the environment, if you don't know me, my husband is a climate scientist. Is a climate scientist, and he just sent me this video, which I haven't actually watched, but he said it's a very good explanation of why it is important that we pay attention to CO2 emissions. And it's done by some friends of ours in Australia, so if it's really awful, we don't have to watch it.
I don't watch it on
The audio.
Put the link in.
I'll send it.
So while they're sorting this out, I do want to thank the University of Utah, Trevor, Dave, Mike, everybody who's helped put this together. Any of you who have hosted this, it's not a trivial exercise. You get rooms, you have to talk to me a lot. So thank you. and thanks to you.
Especially reservations, Trevor did all the work to get us in this room, so thank you, Trevor.
And it is a very nice room. And if WestNet wasn't bad enough, then I loaded the OIN workshop, so hopefully a number of you are staying for the OIN workshop. YesNet is very appreciative, and I think it's important for us to support those activities. So again, thank you, Utah, for agreeing to host that. And so that's all day tomorrow and Thursday.
Same room, right?
Yeah, same room. Same room.
Thanks to Marla for making sure that WestNet continues.
Yes, yes. Marla.
Well, and I owe a big shout out to my staff. As I've often said, my staff, I think you're, as you notice, things are being linked very quickly. Eileen Wacko is my administrative assistant who does the catering. She can see her my whining about the catering. And the no cookies at lunch. So she does a great job, and she does all the work on the webpage and on the agendas and again, sorting things out. So thanks to Eileen, and she doesn't get to travel to the field location, so she does a nice job. I will be working with Eileen as we move over to the WestNet.net domain. You'll see the WestNet page change, and you'll actually, hopefully for the first time, not go to UCAR, you'll go to the WestNet.net. We do have to sort that out as far as if UCAR can hold that, somebody else if they wants to step in and take over the webpage, that's also okay. We've taken care of it for a period of time, just because it sits under our server. I will be trying to work to make sure all of the history, we have a lot of the WestNet history on our webpage, so make sure that that gets moved over, so that if for some other reason somebody else does take over the domain, you'll get the material that goes with it. So did I forget anybody? I'm sure there's probably somebody I forgot, but thank you all. So your party.
Carbon dioxide is one of the main gases in our atmosphere that traps heat, creating the greenhouse effect that provides the conditions that allow human life to exist on Earth. Without the natural greenhouse effect, the average temperature on Earth would be a frigid minus 18 degrees Celsius. And we know from the geological record that natural changes in carbon dioxide levels are directly related to past increases and decreases in global temperatures. Scientists use ice core records from Antarctica to reconstruct prehistoric temperature records. And those same ice layers trap little bubbles of CO2, which means we can see how they relate over time. Temperature and CO2 have fluctuated together through ice ages and warm periods, called interglacials. Slow changes in the Earth's orbit around the Sun initiated the ice ages. CO2 was a natural amplifier, causing the global climate to warm and cool through each cycle. Here, about 200 to 300,000 years ago, is where modern humans had just evolved. And here, at the last interglacial period, the sea level peaked at about 6 to 9 meters higher than it is today. At about 20,000 years ago, we had the last ice age. At that time, kilometre-thick ice sheets spread across Europe and North America, eating up water and driving sea levels down to 130 meters lower than where we are today. From that low, cold point, the CO2 rises naturally by as much as 35 parts per million each 1,000 years, stabilizing to near modern levels at around 10,000 years ago. Oh look, there's the birth of modern agriculture, and the wheel, and the pyramids in Egypt. And now we hit the common era, the year 0 CE. At this point, the world population is just 200 million people. And here's where scientists first demonstrated the greenhouse effect of carbon dioxide, way back in 1861. It would take until 1938 for scientists to show that the Earth was warming and propose that CO2 was the cause. Here's where we are now. When the Earth warmed out of the last ice age, CO2 levels naturally increased by 35 parts per million over 1,000 years. Humans have caused CO2 to rise by this amount in just the last 17 years. And our population is at 7.5 billion people, with many cities around the world rapidly developing, increasing their CO2 output year on year. Our current temperature is about 1 degree Celsius above pre-industrial levels. This might not sound like much, but the last time our climate was that warm was the last interglacial period when sea levels were 6 to 9 metres higher, enough to creep into cities like, of course, CO2 to rise by this amount in just the last 17 years. And our population.
Oh, you wanted to replay it, Alex? Good job, man.
We hit the right button.
Rapidly developing,
It is an
increasing
important
the
point.
CO2 output year on year. Our current temperature is about 1 degree Celsius above pre-industrial levels. This might not sound like much, but the last time our climate was that warm was the last interglacial period when sea levels were 6 to 9 metres higher, enough to creep into cities like New York, Manila, Brisbane, and flood Bangkok, Miami, Amsterdam, and many more. On current projections, by 2100, our climate could warm by 4 degrees Celsius or even more, depending on our actions to cut CO2 levels. So, does this look natural to you?
That pesky hoax. This is our Australian buddies' future. Perky talk for the end of the day. So, thanks everyone. See somebody tomorrow. And if you're going to dinner, I don't know what your plan is.
Well, see, I'm not going to dinner, I sent you the info.
It's 6:30, right?
Well, I made two, we had to make two reservations. So
Yeah, so you're
six
talking about-
and 6:30.
Okay.
So you just all show up at 6 and see what they do.
Okay. Ready, 1, 2.
On the way out.
One's under Marla's name and one's under your name.
Ready, 1 or 2?
2.
2.
One was not taken into reservation.
So one at 6 p.m. and one at 6:30.
Very much.
So let's show up at 6.
We'll probably show up at 6.
That's what
They were cheap when they came to.
Grab this one too, when we're done.
What dark trace will pick up.
Anyways,
By most,